sure to do the other side. Hello, beautiful people. Thank you so much for being here and honoring me by making me a part of your aerial practice. I'm so excited to be making these full-length classes finally. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time. So this is an intro to aerial series. Just because it's directed at beginners doesn't mean you can't integrate it into your practice if you're more intermediate or advanced level. Also, just because it says that it's directed at beginners, that we all start at different places. If something is a little too challenging for you right now, that is absolutely okay. You can save that for another day. Also, sometimes you might be able to do a pose one day and it's more difficult the next, and that's okay. Our bodies are all different, and even our individual bodies are different from day to day. Anytime that a pose is too challenging, I'll try to offer some alternatives to make them more simple. If I don't offer one that works for you, please just feel free to explore a little with what feels good to your individual needs. I don't know about you, but this has been a really long few months. So I think we'll just come to the mat and start our practice in child's pose and just get a little grounded for now. You can either take this with legs wide. If you're wanting to get a little bit more of a stretch in there. If you want to release the lower back, maybe you prefer to bring your knees together and fold forward. Also have an option of an ease there, just lying in Shavasana, taking a seat, whatever helps to bring you into this moment. Just take a minute to get our breath in sync. Whenever I'm trying to ground, I like to take a moment to try to listen to the sound that's furthest away from me and the sound that's closest. I recently moved in, so I can hear all kinds of different sounds in my house recently. All right, I'm gonna bring my hands forward, slowly stretching out that spine. Taking a few breaths as we feel into that stretch. Now we'll reach over hand to our right side, feeling that stretch in our left side body. Continuing with mindfulness of our breath. Come back to center. We'll reach hand over hand along the floor, feeling into that right side body. Coming back to center. Whenever I do any kind of yoga practice, I like to set an affirmation to repeat throughout the practice. This can be any statement that you can actualize. I often use statements like, I am strong, I am happy, whatever you would like to see become part of yourself. Since I haven't been able to practice aerial as much, I've been a little self-conscious about how my progress has been. So for me, my affirmation today will be, I am an aerialist. If you like, you can borrow that one as well. All right, now let's come up to a tabletop position. Another really important thing to warm up before starting aerial that we often forget about is our wrists. So we're going to take a moment to do some wrist circles. First, let's take a moment to make sure that we're really strong in this tabletop position. We want to make sure that we have our weight well distributed between both our hands and our and back on our knees and planting down throughout from down into the tops of our feet. Sorry, it's been a while since I made a video. All right, you want to make sure you feel your weight distributed throughout your hand, throughout those fingertips. You do not want all of the weight in your wrist. Just take a moment to circle around. The other direction. We'll come back to a seated position. If you like, you can continue this on your knees. If you like, come into an easy pose. I'm gonna make some meatballs. Warm up our wrists. Need another angle to see what I'm doing there. We're just gonna reverse the direction, which is really hard for me. Our wrists are nice and warm. Of course, another super important thing to warm up every time with aerial is our shoulders. I'm just gonna do some nice shoulder rolls. Feeling into that. For once in my life, my shoulders don't feel super duper crunchy. If your shoulders are feeling super crunchy, just be kind with yourself. Do what feels good. You don't want to force anything. Just kind of warm up is all. You're gonna look goofy, but it's okay. Being goofy together. Now let's reverse that direction. Ooh, there's crunchies. Okay, now we're gonna go into nice big shoulder circles. Feel like I'm swimming. I don't know if you've seen any fish like this before. Just backwards it and chicken wing it. Now your shoulders should be nice and warm. Now we're gonna come back into, we talked about making a nice strong tabletop position. Now we're gonna go into some cats and cows. If you like, you can just stick to hanging out on the floor like we were before, coming into that strong tabletop we talked about. But we'll just breathe forward or breathe in, pushing that chest forward. Into our cat. Breathe out, rounding the spine. You have a string pulling it up into the ceiling, pressing down into the tops of those feet. Now, if you want to incorporate, I guess we'll do it sideways first. And again, cat, reaching that tailbone up, chest forward. Breathing out the cow, as if a string is pulling your spine up into the ceiling. Now, if you want to incorporate the silk as a prop while doing this, you're going to do a wrist wrap in order to get some stability. The way we do that is bring our prayer hands forward, and then you want to bring back your hand as if to hit your face. You're gonna wrap your hand around so that you have your thumb on one side, other fingers on the other. We're gonna do like we were before. It's gonna be like a hovering tabletop, we'll call it. So you're just gonna push forward. Now you're gonna be depending on your core a little more than you were doing it on the floor. Now push those hands forward. Coming down to a strong tabletop. I'm pulling through the silks, but I'm keeping the shoulders engaged. I'm keeping the core engaged. I'm pushing down into the feet. And again, if this feels like too much, just come into that regular tabletop. That's totally fine. We're just trying to warm up the spine here. So then, just like before with the cats, curve my spine, scooping my tailbone up, pressing my chest forward. Breathe out, rounding the spine. Just do this along at your own breath. Let's do about 5 of these. You do it on the floor or do it with the aerial prop. There's no wrong way. Hi, Artie. You don't need to do it at any certain speed. This is your practice. Another option, if you're a more advanced student and have a lot of body awareness, you can make a flow out of this. Then forward, coming into that cat. Go up into that cow. Leaning back. Again, it takes a lot of body awareness for that, so save that for another day if you are on a more beginner level. Okay, so our final cat cow. Now, wherever you are doing your cat cows, we're gonna do in one of my full classes. They call this a disco cat. I just think that's so funny. So it will forever be a disco cat. We're just gonna do some circles with our spine. I think we're churning. Your ground is gonna look more like that. Make it silly, sexy, whatever you're feeling into your practice. Okay, So, might make us a little, oh, hold on, I gotta go the other direction first. Always feels weird going the other direction. Okay. So, whenever we're done with that, just let's go back into a quick child's pose. You want an extra stretch. Try a heart opener. Interlace your fingers, bend it over your head. Not required at all though. So now we're gonna go into some forward lunges. If you're not already wrapped up, and do that wrist wrap again. Coming up onto our knees. Place your left foot forward into a lunge. Curve your toes underneath your foot, like so. Then we're gonna lift up onto the back ball of our foot. You're gonna try to keep your hips nice and square, and then come back down, touching that knee down. If you're anything like me, you're already feeling the burn. Okay, so then bring the knee back up again, pressing down into both feet, the front with your whole foot, the back with the ball of your foot. And 2. Let's do 3 more of those. You don't need to do this sideways, by the way. I'm just doing it so you can see me better. And then from here, I want to get some stretches in, maybe work on your splits practice a little bit. So I'm going to bring my foot down. I'm pressing into the top of my right foot and leaning forward into my left foot, coming down into a lunge. You should feel the stretch here in your hip flexors, but we're not dumping all of our weight into there. We're staying strong. Feeling at the hip flexors. We're gonna back it up and hinge forward, going into a half split. Oh my goodness, can I feel that in my hamstrings? Do a couple more of those. Coming forward into a lunge. Going back up, hinging forward at the hips to come into a half split. Do 2 more of those, 4 in total. Nice thing about doing these with the silk, can hold on to them for a little extra stability. Remember, you don't want to be totally dependent on holding onto the silks for balance. We're just here to help you. Okay. Now let's do that on the other side. So now we're going to step our right foot forward. Oh my goodness. I did acro yoga yesterday and I'm so sore. I feel it everywhere. Okay, we're going to step our right foot forward, curl our toes under our left foot. And then we're going to bring our body weight up onto our foot into that lunge, just like we did on the other side. And then we'll come down. Breathe in to come up. Out. Five total, so we have 2 more left. don't know about you all, but I'm feeling the burn there. All right, now we're gonna work on our flexibility a little bit. Come in forward. We're going to, whereas our foot before had our toes curled under, now we're gonna have our back, or our left foot flat on the ground, pressing into that top foot to protect your knee a little bit. Leaning forward, feeling that stretch in the hip flexors, keeping those hips squared. Pushing forward. We're gonna straighten out our front leg. Flex our foot to protect the knee. Hinge forward at the hip. Should really, really, really feel that in the hamstring. 2, 3 more of those. Forward, getting that stretch in those hip flexors. Again, you want to try to balance yourself. The fabric's there to assist you, however, if you lose balance. Forward, hinging on that half split. Don't forget to breathe. We have one more left. We'll go with that. Alrighty. So what we're gonna do is come back into a tabletop, walk our feet forward as far as you can without your cat being in the way. I'm just gonna rise one vertebra at a time. Whew. Bring your hands up overhead. Bring those hands to heart center. Your hands to your side and out. Okay, now we're going to come into a forward fold again. But this time we're going to have the fabric there to catch us. The reason we're going to do this is we're going to eventually do a down dog using the hammock. But first, let's make sure we're used to the feeling of our weight being supported by the hammock as we hinge forward. Okay. So I want the fabric so it's about at the middle of my hip. I do it right below the top of my hip bone. Everyone's built a little differently, so you might have to figure out what's comfortable for you. But for me, it's at the top of the hip. Now I'm going to hinge forward. Kind of ragdoll it out a little bit. Breathing into the sensation of the fabric. Hammock will catch me. Come to a half rise. And then we'll come back down again. Might have to resituate the fabric if it comes loose. Okay, so now we're going to come down into our down dog. So we're going to do this is we're just going to go forward into a forward fold. This time I'm going to place my hands down on the fabric. And then I'm going to walk my feet out. We're in what you traditionally think of as a down dog. We're going to reach our chest back towards the back of our legs. If it so calls you, we're gonna make this dog float. Now the way to think about this is we're gonna lift our feet up, but we're gonna think about it like we have lead boots on our feet. We don't want them to keep going up. We want them to come up, but be nice and heavy, allowing our dog to float. And I'm gonna twist around so you can see me. You don't need to do this. You can see my feet are suspended, but they're still staying nice and heavy and down to the ground. While we're here, Feel like you can wag that tail. If you're new to aerial, this might be a bit uncomfortable for you. A way to make this more comfortable is you can fold a towel and place it between your hips and the fabric. It'll help a lot with the sensitivity. If you're new, this is going to be a lot of sensation. So we're going to take a moment to take a break from that. Step it forward, bringing your feet down. Walk our feet up towards our hands. Come back to a half lift. Ragdoll it out. And again, just stand one vertebra at a time. If you like, you can take a moment to put on your backpack with the fabric and just lean back as you let that sensation from the down dog kind of subside. Now you gotta feel the sensation in your back instead. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to our down dogs. But what we're gonna do is curl up in a little cannonball. The reason we're gonna do this is because the next move will make a fantastic ab workout. Now first, watch me do this. So I'm gonna bend forward, come into a ball, and then I'm gonna Superman it, coming forward. Now this might be a lot because it takes a lot of core strength to do that. And if you don't get up the whole way or you can't hold it, that's totally fine. Point here is just to play a little bit. Make this your own practice. If this is too much for you, that's okay. You can just calm down. Play around with how it feels to be suspended at the hips. Maybe press into the ground to feel less pressure. Move it around. This is your practice, if I haven't mentioned it already. All right, so now we're going to come back into our straddle back and work towards our peak pose of the day, which is the chandelier pose. Anyways, for our straddle back, I'm going to show you once from the front, once from the back. So for a straddle back, we're going to place the fabric. So again, we want it at the top of those hips. You can feel the bone there. And you really don't want it too high or it's going to be super uncomfortable. If it's too low, you're going to fall out. So it's all about finding that sweet spot right above that tush. Right, so whenever you're ready, just gonna lean back. And I know a lot of beginners have a tendency to want to like walk it back before they lean back, but don't do that because you'll end up swinging a lot. So we want to stay right underneath the plumb line, lean it back. And then once we're ready, we're gonna engage the core to lift up our feet, spreading them wide so we don't fall out of the hammock and allow ourselves to lower down. Whenever we're ready, you can lift this and you know that you're nice and guarded because your legs are spread to hook the fabric. You can let the hands go. Again, I'll show on the other side. This is a nice core workout too. Sneak in some core. Again, placing it right above the tushy here. How it fits for you might vary a little bit, but you don't want it too high or it's going to be uncomfortable. You don't want it too low or you're going to fall out. Looking back. I'm keeping engaged. I'm keeping my legs wide. Feeling back, I'm spreading them wide, then I'm hooked in here, and then I just let my hands go. Once I'm here, I have a lot of different options for what I can do. If I like, I can bring my feet together in front, not behind of the fabric, in front of the fabric. This gives me like an extra hook. From here, I can do some twists. Now, ideally, you should have some head clearance. You might have to adjust your hammock if you don't. All right, so you can twist. If you like, you can get a really nice back bend by reaching your hands forward. Might need some degree of flexibility to do this, so don't push yourself too hard. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to hit you. Hi, I got everyone saying hi to me right now. I think some people call this the Spiderman pose. It's fun. I feel like you can just leave your hand by your side. You can interlace your art. You can interlace your fingers. I can't see. You can interlace your fingers together behind you so that you can get an so deep heart opener. Okay. And let's come back out. Open your fabric. Spread underneath your feet. Spread your legs. Jesus. Stretch your legs so you can come back up. And slowly, and then with heavy feet. Bring our feet down. If you come up too fast, you might get a little dizzy. That happens. If you're like really dizzy, kind of lay back. And the hammock will catch you. I normally just get mildly dizzy, so I like to hinge forward. Doing that wrist wrap we talked about, and like the floating tabletop, but standing. Forward fold. There we go. Doing a forward fold. Alright, so now I'm going to show how you can take that straddle and turn it into something really, really pretty. I'm sure you've seen this in like a million different pictures. So this is the Chandelier Pose. We're going to come back into that straddle like we were before. And the legs wide. Bring both feet forward, starting in a Spiderman's pose. Now what you're going to do is you are going to crochet, let's start with the left foot. Crochet the left foot around the fabric. So you kind of have the fabric wrapped around your leg. And then we're going to let your right foot come around or unhook from the fabric and go back behind you. Remember, keeping that heavy boot we talked about in this right foot. And then you can just have it within your practice and reach back, make a back bend out of it. Spin it so you can see better. Now this is a really, really pretty position. Do this side, make sure to do the other side. And again, the way we do that is crochet that right foot around the fabric. You can bring your left foot behind you with that bent boot, reaching back behind you to grab the foot. Then I'll spin. See more angles. Don't recommend you do that yourself. Yeah, just take a few minutes to play around with what you can do here. There's like so much you can do from this straddle pose. Unless your pets start driving you crazy. There's only so much you can do. Then we'll just come down like we did before, keeping the legs wide so we don't fall out. Keeping the core engaged. Stepping down. Not stepping on any cats. Whew. Okay, yeah, I don't know about you all, but I'm ready to cool down. I'm sleepy. That was a lot. Okay, so we're gonna get into the fabric for our cool down. I always like to spin my cool down in the fabric. Such a nice, cozy way to end any practice. So the easiest way to get in here is kind of air it out. And detangle it. Then grab some scrunches of fabric. I think I got about 5 or 6 there. So you can create a bucket to sit in. I'm gonna sit down into this bucket. This will help with the dizziness too. Kind of hinge forward. Allowing my head to hang heavy. I'm gonna stretch into those legs even more. Can stretch out the fabric. Now your feet are fully enveloped. And lean forward. And we'll bring the feet back out if you had placed them in the fabric. Some final shoulder stretches. I'm gonna bring my right hand out around the left side of the fabric, gripping the edge back here. Then I'm gonna take my left hand, reach around behind me, and grab the outside edge of the fabric that's behind me. I'm gonna very, very gently pull each hand in opposite direction. A little stretch in that shoulder. I'm just going to do that on the other side. Left hand around to grip the back of the edge of the fabric. Reaching the right hand around. Pulling in either direction. Try not to fall asleep. Something I really like to do is come in and lay on the fabric and come to lay on my side. Stretched out nice and long. Just kind of make a nice little cool down flow. Coming in, stretching out back into a crescent shape. Coming into that fetal position, back to a crescent, fetal, crescent, and switch to the other side. Going back to our backs first, flipping over onto our opposite side. Now we're going to come into Shavasana, but let's just take a few minutes and for this moment, let's revisit that affirmation we talked about earlier. Maybe it was, I'm an aerialist. You're an aerialist, and you're also are or will be whatever your affirmation you chose for yourself is. This world is so crazy. It's so fast-paced. It's so unpredictable. And yet so mundane sometimes. And yet you took this moment to share this practice of aerial yoga and find that crazy thing they call mind-body connection. Oh, how I hope you found it today. Take a moment to integrate all that we did today. And start coming back to reality. First, maybe begin in touching your thumb to each of your fingertips. Rubbing your thumb across your fingers. You begin wiggling your toes. Pulling your ankle out. Circling your hands and your wrists. Begin to take some banana shapes from each side. You're feeling into the side body, really lightening that spine. Pick your favorite side, roll onto it. Let's give one more long good morning stretch, stretching from fingertips to the ends of your toes. Curling back into that seated shape one more time. Stretching out to be reborn again. Are you ready? Now back to center on your back. Let those feet hang out of the silk. Oh, so slowly at your own pace, come up to a seat. We'll take a moment again to hinge forward. Letting that head hang heavy. Thank you oh so much for welcoming me into your practice. It's been a long time since I've made one of these videos, and it's the first time that I've made a full practice. I am totally open to feedback, and I'm really excited to make more of these and that are new and improved with each new episode. My theme, which I forgot to mention today, was the so overused but so true quote, progress, not perfection. So that's what we're here for. Our own progress at our own pace, serving our own bodies. Thank you for joining me. Namaste.